We're all clear, but there'll be more. Echo 7, how's the transmission?
I just bypassed security. Transferring to R10 now.
Echo 2, we've got company. Let's make this quick.
Copy, Echo 9. R10, get ready for transmission. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. So today we are doing something a little different. So we are actually watching these as they come out, and this is, by the time that you guys hear this is months in the past. But we're recording so we can have our fresh views, fresh excitement for these episodes. So we have no idea what's going on. But before we get started, just remember, check down in the link below so you can be able to. Before we get started, just make sure that you check in the description below and check out our link tree where we have our Discord, our Instagram, and some cool merch that I think you guys will like. So be sure to check that out. So without further ado, so The Bad Batch Season 3 just came out, and we have the first 3 episodes. So we're going to go over those episodes. We're going to start with episode 2, which goes over what's going on with Wrecker and Hunter. So what do you think of these guys?
I prefer the Bad Batch, as in, you know, the classic lineup. Wrecker and Hunter, I think, work well together because obviously you've got the leader and you've got the brute strength.
Yeah.
Neither of which we really see in this episode, which kind of made me excited to see more of them because it's a different dynamic. Obviously, spoilers for those that haven't seen the end of season 2. If not, why?
Yeah.
But there
why start season 3?
Yeah. There was a little bit of a fatality in the final episode.
And I'm upset about that because, like, I was thinking it's like, I'm so familiar with like superhero shows and like these animated series. Like, okay, a character is knocked off, but oh, they'll come back. And 3 episodes in, I'm like, maybe Tech is dead.
Yeah, but then they have brought characters back before, so I'm on the fence because we never technically saw the body in a cartoon.
No body, no death.
Yeah, that's until I see the body, they're not dead. That it might be the last season, and we might get to the end of the season with no body. But until I see the body, he's not dead. Not dead.
I mean, my thing is, it is a little bit generated towards children, so I think they might just kind of just give the assumption of death and not really have to show the body just for that reason. I know Clone Wars was a little bit more detailed in that factor, but that was also because it was on Cartoon Network and not really a Disney controlled show. So Disney might be toning it down just a little bit for that, but we have seen, I mean, we see stormtroopers die on screen. So, I mean, it's a little different for, I guess, our main crew versus just some random trooper that's in the background.
Yeah, that is true. And obviously, based on this is kind of like the aftermath of everything that happened at the end of season 2, where, you know, Omega's been taken, and obviously Tech is, I'm going to say, presumed dead because, like I say, until I see the body, he's not dead to me.
Yeah.
So it's Hunter and Wrecker sort of trying to come to terms with it while also trying to save Omega.
Yeah, and just to go a little bit for, I mean, this is the final season, so I am expecting them to be a little checklist. All right, Tech's out of the picture. Okay, who's next?
Yeah.
I'm still very adamant about it being Omega and Crosshair being the final 2. Or it might be Hunter and Omega.
I after seeing these 3 episodes, being honest, I'm not convinced any of them survive.
Even Omega?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't
Okay.
get me started on her. We'll come to that later.
I'm liking her a lot better in this season. Okay, we got some disagreement here. I love it. Okay, that's gonna make some for an interesting conversation. Because I started off not liking Omega, but as the seasons come on, like they actually give her the character development treatment that they did not give Rey. So I'm kind of enjoying the development of the characters. Not as annoying as I thought she was in the beginning.
So anybody that knows me, especially there's some guys I used to work with, and we would all watch Bad Batch together, and they would mock me because I'd be sat there saying I hate Omega with a passion. Just her character, like that she's a clone that's meant to be a clone of Jango Fett, but it's weird
Altered.
It's never been mentioned before that there was another altered clone, and it then kind of drove when Bad Batch was announced. I was so excited because obviously we saw the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars, and I was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be that level of awesomeness with these guys. Yeah, different situations, but it'll be that." And then they throw in Omega. And then it revolves around her, and I'm like, yes, that's not really what I signed up for.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, in the few episodes that we've seen already, the first 3, you are correct. She has been given sort of more character development in this last season, but even then, the fact that sort of plots all kind of revolve around her. Because Hunter and Wrecker, they could say, yeah, we'll get Omega back, but let's find Crosshair. We could do with him back on our team. He might hate us, but we can try. But no, they've kind of just forgotten about him.
I think that they should have, like, instead of going with Omega, they should have done a little bit more importance with Boba Fett.
Yeah,
because he's also unaltered, and I just find it weird that we have these characters all revolving around Omega, but they're not going after Boba Fett. Maybe the Empire doesn't even know Boba Fett's a clone. Maybe Jango kind of kept that as kind of like a secret. Maybe when he was asking for his own unaltered clone that just ages normal, maybe he kind of said, let's keep this off record. Even though it's known to the Kaminoans, maybe it was just never written down or in any records for the Empire to go over and see. So that's one possible explanation for them not knowing about Boba Fett, or why they're not trying to use him as well.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because it's not like I'd understand it if Jango kept Boba secret from everybody, but he did exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you could say it's not, you could kind of write it off as being, oh yeah, that's his actual like proper son. It's not a clone. But then that still lead to, why aren't they going after him and making, seeing if his blood is like his dad's instead of using clones?
Yeah.
Which then would prove that he's a clone. So I don't know, like the entire plot line revolving around Omega, just for some reason it really gets on my nerves. I also think it's her voice, just the way that she speaks. It sounds really bad, and everybody's going to hate me for saying it, but I think she's too whiny.
I mean, she's still a kid.
Yeah.
And not really given the same treatment as the other clones. She was kind of just stuck in a lab doing tests and all that other fun stuff. So she's learning to see what the real world is like, and it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know.
I think just to sort of save myself on this, when I say she's too whiny, it was always the fact that she'd be, shouting out for Hunter or Wrecker, and
No sense of individuality.
Yeah, it's like whatever situation she's in, it was always, Hunter or Wrecker. On occasion, maybe Tech, but it would be a very rare occasion because, it would always be basically Hunter and Wrecker, and it kind of just grates on me that she even though she grew up in a lab, she could easily try and defend herself properly.
So to argue on that, that's why I say like character development on this season, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Then we'll hold my thought on that, and because I have some points once we get to Omega's story, I'll point those out and see what you think on those.
Okay, cool.
But I do agree that the whole show is based around Omega because we come back to Wrecker and Hunter, and instead of them just kind of hiding out, they're trying to find Omega. And it starts off with a Deveronian.
Yes.
I think Deveronian. And interesting thing, this is the first time that we see a female Deveronian appear on screen.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that they have large horns because I remember reading in the books they didn't have them as prominent as that. So I don't know if that's just her or if that's kind of like a new character development that they kind of tossed on it.
Yeah, I mean, it would kind of make sense if it was sort of the one-off, a one-off feature for that character as a way to show sort of, some sort of prominence.
Yeah. Because the only other time that we saw it was back in A New Hope. One of the characters, one of the background Cantina characters over in Mos Eisley.
Yes.
That's the first time that we see live action. It's cool that they're jumping back into pulling aliens from previous stuff and bringing it back into this, even pulling from Legends and being able to see more on that. I know. I just want to say that because a lot of fans are saying, "Oh, well, we have all this Legend material. Why aren't they doing movies or doing anything with it?" It's like, well, they kind of are, just not the way that we expected them to do it. But they're trying to keep some of the best parts of it alive.
It's a new twist on the Legends material, which personally, and we've kind of said it in previous recordings that I'm all down for that because it gives the new watcher something to find out about, and then if they want to know about a specific character and they find out that they're the species was originally in the Legends material, that then gets them reading.
Yeah.
Which, 100% down for any day of the week.
And that's what I say with a lot of fans too. It's like we're pulling a lot of stuff that's on screen, and myself included on this, and I've kind of had to wrap my mind around it. I recently watched the last Airbender adaptation for Netflix, and I've been seeing a lot of people complain about some things, and I was thinking it's like they get the main points of it, and that's kind of how I see with Legends. It's like if you want a play-by-play adaptation or whatnot, we still have the original material, and when they do something different with it, we're not gonna see the same thing. And like especially with Legends, like we got Thrawn back. We're not getting the same Thrawn story, but we are getting Thrawn.
Yeah.
Doing something similar. And I personally think it's really cool with what they're doing with them. And I'm excited to see what's on the future with it. But it's just kind of cool to see Legends adapted in a different way that I don't really think is killing the Legends material, but more is paying like honor. At least from what I've seen with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, it looks like they're showing like a lot of appreciation. Yeah. Even like small details as a female Deveronian.
Yeah, and on the Jon Favreau front, he also directed the first two Iron Man films,
Oh yeah, those are my two favorite of the Marvel.
Same. But he was instrumental in sort of kickstarting the MCU. And it's the same thing, to sort of hit home the point that you've just made, that it's not going to be the same as the source material, because simply you can't do that. That the Marvel movies, while have characters and some things being based on the comic books, you can't. It wouldn't look right having the comic book storylines, and it's the same with the Legends materials. That the Star Wars books, while they're great reads, wouldn't necessarily work well on screen. So to take the individual bits, like you said, with Thrawn, it's not the same story, but it's a character that was introduced in what is now Legends and is gearing up to be a really good character.
Yeah. Yeah, because we got him in Rebels and now we got him in Ahsoka, which is cool. So they're keeping him alive and like keeping his menacing stature. So it's like he's not easily taken down.
Yeah.
But back to here real quick.
Sidetrack.
I know we're really good at sidetracking, but I mean it's fun. It's really fun discussion, and but it brings us back to here with them on the dev run, and we get to see them interact with this character. I think was she introduced in season 2? I can't remember. She seems familiar because she's familiar with the Wrecker and Hunter, because I remember when she was talking to them, she's like, yeah, so you're lucky my son convinced me to let you guys in, otherwise I would have killed you.
Yeah, I can't remember if we see the mother, but I'm certain that we definitely see the son in season 2.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, because her son's name is Roland, and oh no, she's mentioned it previously, but this is the first time that we see her on screen. That's right. But yeah, it's the son I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But imagine coming before her and you're standing on this like little ray shield that has a bottomless pit of just darkness. My anxiety would be going through the roof, especially after seeing what happened to the last guy that went right before. It's like, okay, well, let's hope the guy that we're bringing in, especially a Pike, to show your dedication. It's like, she's like, yeah, you guys are desperate if you're gonna cross the Pikes, but still standing on that platform would give me high anxiety, and I'd be crossing my fingers saying, I hope this Pike is enough to win her over.
Yeah, it was. I think that was the first point in all 3 seasons, to be fair, of Bad Batch, that I was genuinely concerned about what was going to happen with these. Yeah, like what was going to happen to these 2 characters. One wrong move or one wrong word, and they plummet to their deaths, and
another Rancor pit.
Yeah, or another tech situation where, I mean, it would be a hell of a thing to do in the first 3 episodes, is to kill off 2 more of the main characters, but luckily
then you'd really love it. The rest of the season would be only about Omega.
Oh yeah, no, no, I am kidding about that, sort of. But it was a genuine sense of peril because of the fact that we saw, someone standing there sort of a few minutes before and then plummets to their death. And now we've got 2 main characters in the same situation, and all they want is answers to sort of relatively simple questions.
Yeah, and you know Filoni's not going to just knock out 2 characters all at once. He's gonna drag it out. If you know Filoni, he's not one to kind of just, it's like, oh yep, quick death. No, he's gonna make it. Especially like even when we saw Kanan's death, that was like drawn out. And that was like a big deal. Same with Tech, and so we got these 2 characters here trying to get the information. So I mean, if they're there for information, story is about Omega, so 2 main characters aren't going to die right away. You know they're going to get the information they need. But I'm glad that it's not convenient.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the information, while it is true for the moment that it was true, they get there and it's another dead end.
Yeah. And it's at this point, even though they're animated characters, you can see the frustration, which, you know, goes to show how well the show's animated, where you can see frustration on a character that doesn't exist.
Technology, man, like with the whole animation that they've done since Clone Wars Season 7 up to Bad Batch up until now, they're getting really good at giving you those facial expressions, those you can kind of look at them as if they're like real characters, real people.
Yeah. I mean, we
kind of see a little bit more in the Omega scenes.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that too, because they kind of, it's just really, I'll probably just touch on it right now just real quick, but it's kind of like interesting because you have these Bad Batch characters that are very animated. You can see their sadness, you can see the frustration, even in Wrecker. And then you come to Omega's story arc, and everybody's just cold, no emotion, and that's just because that's the Empire.
Yeah,
devoid of feeling, and so it's cool that they kind of give you both sets of emotion. It's like it's not that the characters aren't animated well enough. It's like they portray the characters so well enough you can look at them and see that they're just cold and devoid of emotion. And not just like, oh, it's bad animation. Nah. They're doing pretty good with it.
Yeah. I mean that is one of the things that I do like about the 3 seasons of Bad Batch, that like you say, you can, you know, Empire, anybody that's in the Empire is quite cold and closed off to a degree, but anybody else has you know, the emotion animated into them, and it's a bittersweet thing, really, because Bad Batch could run for a couple more seasons potentially, but this is the last one. And even though we're sort of 3 episodes in, I still don't know how I actually feel about that.
I mean, they kind of did that with Rebels too. Rebels went 4 seasons, and they could have done a lot more with it. And I think that they're kind of learning at this point that if you draw things out too long, it just becomes very uninteresting later on. And so I like the 3 season thing because each season was good, had a lot of filler and some like stuff that was kind of on, but overall, it's like they got really good story, really good closure on the season finale, and I'm expecting a really good series finale on this one.
I'm expecting and going into it thinking we're probably going to end up losing most of the characters, which, you know, because even Rex has kind of been retconned into Return of the Jedi, but he's kind of the only one. So
yeah,
we kind of know the fates of the Bad Batch.
I mean, if you got characters like these that are so willing to get involved in things, like even the first 2 seasons, like they could not help themselves, and it goes on with what they're saying about Ahsoka. It's like a Jedi; she cannot help herself but get involved. It's the Jedi way, and I think it's the same way with the clone troopers. Is they're soldiers. While we have seen some clone troopers kind of like get married and kind of like go off on their own and kind of hide away from the Republic during the Clone Wars, these ones just can't sit still.
Yeah.
Even we see Wrecker here because Hunter is like, okay, we're going to this facility, and Wrecker is like on the fence. He's like, dude, we're not going into this without backup. Do you remember what last time what happened? And she's like, we lost Tech and we lost Omega. So you're crazy thinking that the two of us can get into this place. But it's a good thing that they find a jungle planet that's got an abandoned lab.
Yeah.
From an experiment that went wrong.
And on the sort of Hunter Wrecker dynamic, this episode kind of flipped up their relationship a bit, because normally they are side by side fighting. Hunter gives the orders. Wrecker, I mean, it's in his name. He'll wreck things, but now Wrecker's more reserved, because it's almost like he's processed the losses better than Hunter, which I really sort of enjoyed seeing that.
I did too, and the way that I've always seen Wrecker's kind of like a little bit more the late to mature mind-wise. So he's still kind of like a kid. So he's affected a lot more. And you got Hunter, who is kind of like a leader. He's like, okay, I don't got time to process these emotions. We got a mission to complete. We lost Tech, but we can still save Omega. And then Wrecker's kind of the opposite on that. And so it's very interesting to see that dynamic, because you got caution and you got calculated.
Yeah. Which, I mean, just as sort of character development for Wrecker, like you say, he was very not immature, because he could be serious at times, but he was the one that was most likely to have a laugh and have fun. And now to see him as, this guy who could probably break your body with one finger just by the sheer size of him, but he's feeling the losses, and he wants to take that pause, so more of the, so Hunter can kind of recoup himself before they go into the next mission.
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting, because you got to remember, these guys are used to the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars, while it was serious, they're going against a bunch of droids, and things came super easy for these guys because they were going against droids.
Yeah.
Now they're in a new war that they're seeing losses on a much dramatic level, and even then, they weren't suffering losses from people that they were close to, like other clone troopers. Yes, we were sad for the clone troopers, but it was just a natural way of life for them. Now it's like they're more connected because they're all trying to survive against the Empire. And once they take their losses, it's like, okay, we're losing our team, and they're losing a part of themselves at that same time.
Yeah.
So it's a whole new dynamic for them, just thinking on Clone Wars versus the Empire War. But it is good to see that we do have Wrecker still having comedic lines.
Yes.
Because I remember when he got down there, he's like, what was it? He says that the smell reminds the smell on Citron reminds him of a rancid Jotaz. And funny connection there. And it's tying the games even into the Clone Wars, and I mean not the Clone Wars, but the Bad Batch, and kind of like into live action stuff. But Jotaz, it was actually a creature on the planet Zepho from Fallen Order.
Okay, cool.
So they're kind of referencing Fallen Order just a little bit, with just with a random creature that was introduced.
Nice.
But it's interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, because that I love how interconnected the Star Wars universe is without making it over the top.
Yeah, it's just small little references that it's like, okay, Fallen Order is part of this world that they're continuing to build and expand. And it's really cool to kind of see all the different wildlife here. And very interesting that we find some clones that are still young.
Yeah.
I would have imagined that by this time they were all well into adulthood and almost completely phased out.
The only way I can see that sort of being a thing is if they were like one of the last batches of clones, because obviously we now know what happened to Kamino.
Yeah, but this is still a testing facility, so they might still be doing clones, but on a lower level. But at the same time, some of these clones do mention, it's like, oh yeah, it's top of my flight class, or we went through training, we thought we were going to be soldiers. So I don't think these ones were bred for solely testing. So I think this might have been one of the last batches of clones that were taken to this facility to test on, like they're trying to do with Omega, but obviously they failed because they're too diluted.
Yeah, because by this point, Jango Fett is long dead.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously his blood is no longer available, and I can't imagine the Kaminoans keeping large quantities of it. But even still, that would run out eventually. So they would be using clones to make clones, essentially. Yeah. And yeah, so that's how it kind of came across to me, was like it's the last batch of clones that was sort of created probably just before Kamino was destroyed.
Yeah. Because they're doing a lot of different experiments here, like these random vines that seem like they have a mind of their own. Or what it kind of reminded me of was like a Diagnoga from Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's what that creature was.
Yeah. I think so anyway. But the whole like interaction between the cadets and Hunter and Wrecker was it was an interesting one, because I mean I'm reading my notes now, and it's like one of the cadets says that they don't look like clones, but another one knows them as defective clones. So
Yeah.
even then, how much of a reputation has the Bad Batch got? And if these cadets were one of the last batches made, again, it raises the question: it's like, how do they know? Are they just saying that they're defective clones because of how they look, or do they know more? Again, it's like, it's more story that I just want to know.
I mean, the last two seasons, they are making a big name for themselves by attacking facilities and stuff. So I'm sure that the name has even made it to this facility. It's like, oh, the defective clones are attacking another facility. We need to up our security or something.
Yeah, true.
But or they just know about it. Probably before they left Camino, maybe they had a reputation. like 99.
Yeah.
Very interesting though. And I did find that interaction very interesting. Even while they're kind of like being rude to Hunter and Wrecker a little bit, I mean, I can understand it because they're being standoffish because of what they've been through. But Hunter, even despite all the loss he's had, still willing to help these guys out. And it's like, okay, well, you guys will be able to get off this planet. We'll take you out of here. We got to do something first, but we'll take you and we'll drop you off on some island, and you guys will be well taken care of.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I will always like about the Bad Batch is, even though they find themselves having to sort of help Omega a lot, they're also looking out for everybody, and it's just nice to see the, again, sort of character development, because when we see the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars, it's full on, let's break some droids, but now they're fighting to save themselves, but also to save as many people as possible.
Yeah, even despite their circumstances.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying is like we will see, like they will be caught and eventually like killed off because that's just what they do. They can't help but help people.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to sort of go into a Sam predicts the ending thing towards the end of this episode, just because I really want to see how close I am to it.
Okay.
I think it would be quite fun to sort of guess.
I personally still am thinking it's going to be Crosshair and Omega at the end. I think the other ones are going to be killed off before then, and it's either Crosshair and Omega are going to have it happily ever after, or Crosshair is the last one but sacrifices himself to help Omega, which would be a huge character development for Crosshair, which we've seen season 1 version of him, season 2, and now season 3.
Yeah. See,
that's my prediction.
I've got a prediction, but I won't say it yet until we get fully into the Omega Crosshair storyline, because there's one part in there that is key to my whole thinking of what, how the ending's going to be.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Very interesting. Well, I'm excited to hear your thought then. Also, another cool side note on this, Daniel Logan came back to voice the clones here.
Yeah,
I know he did a lot of the Clone Wars stuff. I mean, he did all of the Clone Wars, young clone trooper, or yeah, I'll call them clone troopers, the young clones, and it's cool to see that they brought him back to continue.
Yeah, it's a good sort of continuity again, isn't it? Because obviously he did play young Boba.
Mm-hmm.
And so theoretically all the young clones would sound like him. So I thought that was a really good thing to have. And just sort of like the interactions as well, going back to how Hunter and Wrecker are with these kids, because part of me thinks they could have left the kids there, the cadet, I should stop saying kids, the cadets there. but I think because of what happened to Omega, they didn't want to leave anybody. If they can save them, I think this is the time when they're sure as hell going to save them.
Yeah. It's very interesting because they're like, okay, well, we got this facility down here. Can you guys get us in? They're like, oh, nope, not even gonna worry about it. Like, too dangerous, too dangerous. And it's funny because Hunter and Rick are like, yeah, we'll save you. We'll take you guys with us. And you got these cadets that are like, no, we're not helping you. We know what it's like down there. It's like, you're complaining about being soldiers, yet you're afraid to face challenges when they're presented to you. Like, I don't remember clone troopers ever being scared, even if the odds were against them. So it's kind of interesting to see how these cadets are a little bit different than the clones that we've seen in the past. And it could be just because they're still young and not like full grown like the clones that we are familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if they were taken to the facility sort of at a younger age, they wouldn't have had all the training that they get on Camino. So it would make sense that that's why their behavior is not as in line as with every other clone, or every other normal clone.
Yeah, but I mean, we do have one clone that is willing to help these guys out. He's like, yeah, I know how to get down there. I know my way around there. I can get you to the command room that you guys are looking for, or the data, wherever the data storage area is that they're going to. And oh no, it's the console room. That's right. That's what it was, the console room. And he does it without hesitation. And the others like, nope, we're gonna hang back. We're not going. You guys go have fun. Hopefully we'll see you again, but we're not counting on it.
Yeah. I mean, but the whole interaction between the cadets and our two heroes that are in this episode, it was a strange one, because the episode itself, because really, 1, 2, and 3 one arc, and 2 was definitely more like the filler episode, but it was a filler episode that was needed. Because if you had sort of 3 episodes of 2 characters and just 2 characters, it wouldn't work as well as like it does with Andor, because Andor is the titular character, whereas the Bad Batch is the group. So seeing
and
now,
it extends past the group too, because
yeah,
the way that I see it, because we do see other clones start to question their orders and kind of break free of the chip. And so I'm thinking that as a whole is the Bad Batch.
yeah, the Bad Batch has sort of by name now has become more than just the clones, which is, it's a good thing. And I think, like I said, I think with the first 3 episodes that we've seen, having the second episode as a filler-esque episode where it focuses on 2 other members made sense, because it does break up the Omega Crosshair storyline, but it fills in with what the other guys are doing, apart from Echo, because he was meant. Well, Echo and Rex were mentioned once.
That's right. They're off doing something else.
Yeah,
I forgot about them.
I mean, that's the thing. They could have easily been included in this episode, and really, part of me is glad that they weren't, because I liked the dynamic of Hunter and Wrecker, just the two getting into that situation, finding the kids, saving the kids in air quotes, getting the kids off the planet.
But it also shows that they're not like they're doing so much to keep things going. Like Echo's off doing his own thing, while these two are doing, like, they're holding different missions while trying to keep a normality.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's cool to see Rex and Echo, like, them not being involved in this, because it gives these two characters more character development for these two. Because I don't know how often we see these two characters together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back, but I don't think they really are together too much by themselves.
Yeah, because it's normally the group that, the Bad Batch as a group that are together, maybe without Tech, because he's normally sort of the man in the chair.
The logical one.
Yeah, he kind of like either stays back or, he's by something some form of technology to help out. If it's like opening doors, he's going to be the guy that's
he's the R2 of the group.
Yeah. So without him, it kind of means that we've now got we've got the three separate groups. We've got Hunter and Wrecker, we've got Echo and Rex, and we've got Omega and Crosshair. And these are three groups that, like you say, we don't see together. No, we don't see the pairings, because, I mean, Omega and Crosshair weren't exactly the best of friends. So I'm interested to see where that one goes, which I know that we've seen episodes 1 and 3 with them in, but they've got more storyline to come, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we do get an episode with Echo and Rex, because it'd be a shame if we didn't, because again, that's sort of a dynamic that we've not seen.
Yeah, because I don't think Rex is going to be like a big part of the season. I think he's just going to be kind of like one of those, like how he's been in the past. Like, he'll show up or he'll be on the comm link and give them like some information or anything. But it would be really cool to have an episode with Echo and Rex, and that be their thing, and see what they're doing while Hunter and Wrecker are trying to get Omega.
Yeah. So I think, episode 2 of the three episodes.
3 episodes.
Because it is an arc, isn't it? It is one part of the storyline, and I am glad that they did it as a 3 episode thing and released all 3 at once. Mm-hmm. So if we had had 1 and 2 in the way that they've been released, so with 1 being Omega and Crosshair, and then 2 being Wrecker and Hunter, I would want to know what happens next. So to have the 3 and kind of calling it a mini arc, it worked well for me.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at these 3 episodes, and I'm actually looking at episode 2 as its own standalone arc that was just kind of like put in between the 2 episode arc that we get, because it's like Omega Crosshair, Wrecker Hunter, and then back to Omega Crosshair, and episode 3 continues on from episode 1, and episode 2, the reason why I thought it felt like a filler is just because it was in between the 2. But looking at it by itself and kind of like going on the discussion that we've done, it's like there's a lot that happened in this episode.
Yeah, and I can see where you're coming from with that, and because I mean, my thoughts are still, it's part of the 3 episode arc, and it just fills in the gap of what the other characters are doing. It's kind of like episodes 1 and 2 are happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3, you could kind of say that episode 3 is happening also at the same time as 2. but I kind of felt like 1 and 2. You could literally have like 1 and 2 running at the same time on 2 different screens, and it would eventually tie up at some point soon.
I'd imagine maybe the next episode, episode 4, I believe, should be at least giving us a little bit more closure, a little bit more like information about what's going on, because we got these 2 characters that are come to a dead end, and then they explore this lab, and this whole lab sequence I found very interesting because it's kind of weird to see this experiment, which is like these vines that come alive and are overtaking this facility. And it's kind of cool because once I get to the console room, it kind of reminds me of one of the ships from Alien.
Yes. Yeah.
Even the music seemed bared a lot of resemblance to it.
Yeah.
Bore a lot of resemblance to it.
I know that we've sort of talked about music previously, and
back when we did Andor,
yeah, and I had the same vibe, and I think that might have been what they were going for, as kind of like an Easter egg for the adults watching the show. That would
because they've done a lot of that in the past before too.
Yeah.
Because they did it with Terminator and a few other things, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yeah. But it was very evocative of Alien. And honestly, again, I was feeling it. I was genuinely like, okay, I've seen Alien. I know how this one ends up. So it was an interesting. I think overall the episode was just really interesting and sort of high stakes, because it's the final season. You don't know who's going and when.
Yeah, and you got these kids that didn't go with them. They're like, let's steal this ship.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because you can kind of see that they still have morals. Like, they've been like experimented upon. They've been in this jungle planet by themselves for who knows how long. And they're like, oh yeah, they're not going to make it out of there. I doubt we'll ever hear from them again. So let's just take their ship and get out of here. And one of them is like, nah, I think that's I don't really want to do that because they like the idea of this team of no man left behind. And that's one thing that they picked up from these 2. And it affected one of them, even though they still break into the ship and they're getting ready to go. But they get a message from their buddy. It's like, oh, we're getting overrun. We need your help. And it's a good thing that they decided to steal the ship, because if they were any later, they probably Hunter and Wrecker and the clone kid would have probably been done for.
Yeah. It was. I honestly loved the episode. I don't know whether it was, and this is sort of Omega hating Sam coming out again, but I don't know whether it was because it didn't have her in it, or if it was just because the dynamic of the characters has sort of shifted now. And
I'm gonna say it's kind of similar to how I think it is with Mando. Like, once Grogu's out, I like the dynamic that he has with the other characters, because it kind of gets away from that father figure. While it works for the characters, it's kind of nice to see these characters without any restraint, or without having to have something that they have to worry about in the situation. So we get like we get them back to how they were trained, or what they know best.
Yeah.
So Amiga being gone for this gave us more character development for these characters, because while they're still focused on saving her, we got to get to see a dynamic of some characters that we never really got to see previously.
Yeah, actually, I think that is the best way to put it. And I think, you know, the Omega storyline, especially in episodes 1 and 3, as much as I want to hate on it or hate on her, I can't.
Yeah, because once we get into the story, I'll give you some reasons why I liked her character. So overall, I really liked this episode just because we did get to see that dynamic that we're talking about. We got to see what it's like for, I want to say, what is it? Rabid clone cadets.
Yeah.
And kind of see their thoughts on the Empire. And I'm kind of curious if they have chips in their head or not, because they kind of don't seem affected by Order 66 or like any kind of mind control, got to serve the Empire type personality. It seemed like they were free thinkers.
Yeah, I think on that front that they're just too young, and the chips haven't kicked in yet, because I think it only affected the clones of a certain age and above, like
That's fair.
fully grown ones. So I think maybe if we do get to see them grow up, then depending on how quick that is, we might see them try and, you know, take some people out because of the chips, or Hunter and Wrecker might try and get them removed.
Either that or Order 66, since it's already done, it's probably just been inactive because the Empire's already taking over. They don't need Order 66 anymore.
Yeah,
So
true.
it just might just be latent chips that are just chilling that will never be activated. Because I was thinking the same with Omega. Like I was wondering if she had a chip or not. But
Yeah, I've never thought about that, to be honest. Like I think because of how different Omega is, I've just never thought of her having a chip.
yeah, because it could go along with how you're describing it, like affects a certain age, because in 1 and 3 we see Emery, who's very military oriented, and we'll get more into that, but it seems like she's activated by a chip and kind of not like questioning things. She's just doing her job, and it's like, oh yeah, it's my order. Okay, whatever. It's like no emotion, no nothing. So I was just wondered if the clone cadets had the chips, because I know all the adult ones, and even if these were like the last batch of Kamino clones that were taken to this lab, I would imagine that they would have been implanted with the chip. And I'm also curious of at what age do they put the chip in? At what stage? So
Yeah,
maybe they're not even at that stage to have it put in yet. I don't know. It's kind of interesting questions.
and hopefully we'll get the answers.
Yeah, I don't think that they will. Maybe in the comics or something. I don't know if we'll get those answers here. I mean, it would make sense if Omega would be the way to do it,
Yeah,
but I don't know. Very interesting. But it's cool. They get the ship. They save our guys, and they have the data pad. So they're going to be on to their next mission. Hopefully, we'll see what information they got and where they're going to be headed after that. And maybe to go with that, maybe we'll see Rex and Echo in the next one, because maybe that's the island that they're talking about for the clones to be dropped off at.
that would be good if they did all sort of meet up. But again, I have got my theories about what happens, which I'll actually discuss in the next one, because it'll make more sense then.
Okay. I do think we will get Echo and Rex episode, and then after that episode, we will probably get them coming to pick up Echo if Echo continues on their story.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. So I know we said we're going to cover all 3 episodes in this podcast, guys, but we're looking at the time that is running on this recording. So we appreciate you guys listening, but we will cover episodes 1 and 3 in the next podcast. So we're going to go a little unorthodox in the recording here, but we just feel it's a little bit more fitting for it to be those 2 to be on their own, because we're going to probably go on a lot longer for the next one because there's a lot to talk about. So we don't want to keep you guys too long. So yeah, so we'll wrap it up in this one, and then you can see season 3, 1 and 2. I mean 1 and 3 in the next podcast. So yeah. So, but before we go, guys, just remember, take a look down in the description below. Be able to check out our link tree where we have our Discord, where you can talk to a lot of other cool fans there, and also our Instagram where we post a lot of memes and cool news, so you guys can stay updated. And then also take a look at our merch. We're affiliated with entertainmentearth.com, and we got a lot of cool Black Series stuff and lightsabers and all that fun stuff. So be sure to check that out. And we will catch you guys in the next episode. May the Force
be with you
always.